Hey guys, welcome to SheKnowsArsenal. My name is Jessica. I'm your host. You can follow me on Twitter at hold on. Just tweets and at SheKnowsArsenal. Welcome. Can you guys hear me? Let me know. Yeah, I put in my headphones and they were acting normal and then they stopped acting normal. So let me know if you guys can hear me or not. Okay. I need confirmation. There's already 44 of you guys in the chat, which is like amazing. But let me know if you guys can hear me, see me good, all those types of things, just so I can make sure. Okay, I'm getting yeses. Good. All right. So we're going to be doing match preview for Arsenal versus Newcastle. Yeah. Tomorrow is the day. It's here, guys. If we don't win this one, it's not happening. And that's as real as I can get about this whole thing. And you guys know I like to try to keep it as real as possible. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. If those boys don't show up at St. James's Park, they will get ran over. We won't get Champions League. And just watching, how the games unfolded today. I actually didn't get a chance to watch the Spurs match. Not like get a chance, not like I was dying to watch it, but I made sure I slept through it because I knew they'd win. Everybody's saying it was like a dodgy penalty call. I don't care what it was. They were always winning that game. Burnley were never beating them. Really, for us, it's just from the moment Rob Holding got that red card, it was very much so like, okay, we're going to have to win the next 2 games because our luck is just not there. Nothing is going our way, and you need a little bit of luck. And I think that throughout the season, on the balance of it, we have gotten quite a bit of luck, but it'd be nice to see, maybe Everton do something so that they can so they could be safe at the end of the season. So when we play them, maybe it's not so difficult of a game, but even they're making huge mistakes. I mean, their game was calamitous. I mean, it really, really was. You could just see that the end of the season is really like a pressure cooker. And I think I kind of missed that last season because our season had fizzled out so badly after we went out of the Europa League semifinal that those last 5 games, even though we won them, we weren't really fighting for anything. But now that I'm really paying attention to it, I'm like, yeah, it's a pressure cooker from now until the end of the season. And the Premier League has gotten exactly what they wanted. Every single race is going down to basically the last game. But we have to make sure that the top 4 race does go into the last game. And that starts with winning on Monday. If we don't win on Monday, it's done. The weekend's game will just be a formality. It'll just be us going out there and clapping our fans and just, doing our thing. But we do have an opportunity tomorrow to make sure that our race is still alive. What I will say is just watching, West Ham go ahead at against Man City and then end up drawing the game, and Mahrez missing a penalty and Soufal getting the own goal. Our game against Spurs with the red card and the penalty, Spurs with another penalty. Everton today with 2 red cards, a penalty. We really could be in for a game where there's multiple goals and a lot of action. a lot of these games have had a lot of action, a lot of referee intervention, a lot of big calls from referees. So I don't know how things are going to go, but I would feel a lot more comfortable, obviously, if we were at home, because away from home at St. James, where I'm seeing a lot of people kind of say like, Newcastle, they're on the beach and all of this kind of stuff. And I do think for to a certain extent they have nothing to play for, but neither did Brentford. Brentford didn't have anything to play for today, and they still went out there and beat Everton, who had everything to gain and everything to lose as well. So I don't really think that has anything to do with it. And St. James has been rocking since the takeover. They'll want a nice day out watching their new team, kick the ball around, and they'll be excited ahead of a big summer window for them, and they will relish in the opportunity to keep us from getting into the top 4. I mean, I don't know who needs to tell you, but Newcastle are not going to be out there walking around. They're going to be up for it. They're going to be excited. They're going to be in front of their home crowd. So we have a very difficult game ahead of us, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of actions. Our last couple of games, have had a lot of action in it. If you think about the United game, the Chelsea game, it's a lot of things have happened, and I don't think it'll be anything different. We've done a really good job this season of keeping the action to a minimal, really controlling the game, controlling the amount of chances that the opposition gets. We're not really doing that now. Every shot that our opposition has flies into the back of the net. Everything is fine margins. It just feels very anxious. It just feels very anxious. And so I'm not particularly looking forward to this game, but I want to know what you guys think, because in different group chats that I'm in, there's some confidence, but I think it's false confidence. I think a lot of us are kind of in the same boat where we feel like this could be it. And with the injuries and the way that the Spurs match kind of unfolded, I mean, we could be in for anything, right? Paul says, Terry, stop bantering fans. Terry in the chat. Hey. Matt G says, hey, Jess. Hey, how are you? Let's see. Daniel says, Eddie Howe was keen to prove himself. There was a time where he was touted as the up-and-coming English manager. Yeah, there was a time. I've always rated Eddie Howe. I've always thought he was a very good coach. He's done a really good job. And so don't think for a second they're going to go out there walking around. They're going to be in front of their home crowd we are still a big scalp. I don't know if you guys noticed, but everybody plays their best football against us. They will relish it. I know that they have some injuries, but it doesn't really matter. Zitch says West Ham had the Europa League semifinal and threw it away because of a London derby. Tejas says, I don't want teams to thrash us in Champions League. I would win the Europa League next and get into the Champions League the year after. I don't know, Tejas. I feel like there could be repercussions of not getting into the Champions League this time around. When are we going to get when are we going to get the opportunity again? It gives whoever gets Champions League, which if it's not us, it'll be Tottenham, an opportunity to recruit a higher quality of player. So the idea that and there's no benefit for me to being in Europa League. I think there is, in terms of it lessens the pressure a little bit, and it's a competition that you feel like you can win. But ultimately, we've never won it, and we've been in it in so many times. I think it's time that we need to get back into the Champions League. But I hear what you're saying. Nobody wants to get thrashed, but who says we would get thrashed? I don't think we would get thrashed, to be honest. Saida says, I'm not feeling confident either, but it's usually the games where we're not expected to win where we surprise people. Fair enough. Josh says, we need our young, fit players and superstars. We ain't winning nothing with some of these youngers. Hopefully we get Gnabry, Jesus Tielemans. You know what? To be honest, you guys, as excited as I am to hear about some of the transfer stuff that's been going around over the last couple of weeks, the Spurs match really put a damper on that for me, to be honest. I need the season to be over, because talking about players that are not going to come if we don't have Champions League doesn't really fill me with any joy right now. You don't get Gnabry if you're not in Champions League. So we kind of need to get that first. But I hear that we need better players. We all know we need better players, but I don't think it's out of this young team's ability to beat Newcastle and beat Everton and get into the Champions League. I just don't know what the hangover for the North London Derby will be. Let's see. Daniel says, hard to accept missing out on Champions League after having no European football and the young players doing so well. Yeah, but that's the thing. We've missed having experienced players help them over the line. I think the young players have done well. They've done as much as they can, but they've carried us for the majority of the season. And we just haven't had those experienced players that know what they're doing to kind of carry them over the line. And so, yeah, I think we've pretty much maxed out the team as much as we possibly can. For the resources that we have, we've maxed it out. You know, it's just about limping over the line and can we get a little bit of luck, I think at this point. It's going to be hard to accept. If we don't get it, it will hurt very badly, because it will be that not only did we have a very good opportunity to get it, but we will be losing it to our biggest rivals. So it will hurt, but at the same time, I think we've maxed out the squad. I don't think they could have done much better. I think we just don't have the quality that I think some people think we do. And it's not that the young players are not good. It's just they haven't really reached their full potential anyway. And we have Rob Holding and Cedric and Xhaka and El Neni and these guys, Lacazette, playing with them, and they're just not good enough. So, yeah. Amira says, game's going to be at 3 a.m. here in Singapore. Oh, that's wild. Staying up to support the boys. But I can't lie. The only thing keeping me hopeful is our recent record against Newcastle and Eddie Howe. History points to 1-0. Yeah, for me, like, when I look at stuff like that and I think, oh, well, we have such a good record against Newcastle, I don't really think that matters anymore. I think what we're doing right now is all that really matters. And we lose in clusters. I was in one of my group chats and we were kind of talking about this, and it was brought up that we're really good against Newcastle. And I'm like, but we lose in clusters. Like, it doesn't, I, we lost the first game of the season. We ended up losing 3 in a row. We lost to Manchester United. We ended up losing to Everton as well. We lost to Manchester City. We didn't win another game in January. We lost to Crystal Palace, and then we lost to Brighton and Southampton. So, and we have hangovers after losses. And so I don't know what the physical and the mental toll will be like. Those boys really wanted to win at Spurs. They wanted it badly, almost too badly. Like, they wanted it too much. So I don't know what it's going to be like. They can say whatever they want to say on social media about how they're putting it behind them and all this kind of stuff, because before the Spurs game, they told us that they were up for it and they went and shat the bed. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a very nervy looking Arsenal team going into this game. I wouldn't be surprised. Let's see. Arsenio says, I don't care about Europa League. I just want to see us flying to the middle of nowhere to face Narnia FC. I don't want to see us flying to the middle of nowhere to face Narnia FC with Harrius Potteris up front. I'm crying. Yeah, no, I hear you. Blaze says we need to play Champions League next season. That's why we need to step up and win the last 2 games. I think so as well. I think, I mean, I can make arguments why Europa League would be a better fit. I don't really know if I truly believe that. If that makes sense. 00 Slice X says, Jess, the Spurs game was always going to be hard. There's a reason why we haven't won there in a long time. The more worrying thing now is injuries. Time to show us if they really want us. Come on, you Gunners. So yeah, I think that's a good place to start, is kind of like where we are at in injuries. Arteta didn't really let on that much yesterday in regards to what was going on with Gabriel. I think that's what most of us want to know, is what's going on with Gabriel. He pulled up against Spurs, and it could have been, grade 1, muscle tear kind of thing, out for 3 weeks, or it could be, that he just felt something and needed to do that precautionary, needed to come out precautionary. So I think it could be either one. I think if Gabriel was going to be out, Arteta would have said it already. So there may be a good chance that he can play. I think we need at least one of our established center backs back there. I don't think we can go into this game with a Tomiyasu plus Xhaka, center back pairing. It just wouldn't. I would no. We just can't. So I would imagine one of Gabrielle, if not one of Gabrielle or White, if not both, play in this match. Are they going to be 100% um fit? No, I don't think so. But I think just aesthetically and psychologically, if you have at least one of them back there, we look like a serious team. Where if you just have Tomiyasu and somebody else, you're just throwing guys back there, we look so unserious. You know what I mean? So I think we're just all hoping that at least Gabrielle can play. I would not be surprised. I mean, this is the game. If we don't win this one, there's no point in caring about the Everton game. Spurs are not losing to Norwich. They're not. Like, I'm sorry. I hate to tell you, they're not going to lose to them. So it doesn't make sense to rest Ben White or Gabrielle for that game. So if they can go, if they're 75, 80% ready, they kind of got to play. So I would imagine that we would see at least one of them. And the only other player that I'm worried about is Bukayo Saka. I just don't think he's looked particularly fit for a while. It's been months. And I think honestly, the last really good game that I seen him play was against Watford. That was a long time ago. That might have been like 3 months ago. And that's not to say that he's been shit. I just think that he looks like he needs a rest. But because Arteta doesn't trust Pepe and we're at the end, of the season, he will play. But how much can he give us if he's only like 70, 60% ready to go? So yeah, that's the only other person that I was really worried about. I wonder about the fatigue. I actually think for the Spurs match, it'll be more, or the fatigue from the Spurs match will be more of a physical or a mental thing than a physical thing. I don't think we ran enough or played that hard, like to say like, oh, we probably ran our guts out. Like we didn't. The game was pretty much over after the first 30 minutes. So I don't think it's going to be so much physical. I think it's going to be more the mental. And so we'll just see what happens with that. But yeah, with the availability, it's going to be tricky. I know that a lot of people are kind of saying, well, they're not going to have Willock or John Joe Shelby. Yeah, but they've also gotten Callum Wilson and Kieran Trippier back. And those are big names for Newcastle. So we may not have to worry about a Willock, brace against us to kill our Champions League dreams. But they're still going to have good players out there. And again, they have nothing to worry about at all. So they can go out there and kind of play with freedom in front of their home crowd while we try to figure out how to win a game off of the back of a really embarrassing loss against our biggest rivals and they also won their game. So it's going to be tough. Tony says, I agree. The fatigue, we should be fine. We had a nothing second half. Yeah, I don't really buy this whole we're going to be super, super tired thing. I think it's going to be the mental fatigue, and they're just going to have to suck it up. Like they really are. Chike says, and thank you so much for your super chat, says they did not want it. They did not want it. What are you talking about, Jess? How come Manchester City can come back from 2-0 down to West Ham to get it to 2-2? They did not want it. What are you talking about, Jess? I don't know what you're talking about, to be honest. They did not want it. What are you talking about, Jess? How come Manchester City can come back from being 2-0 down to West Ham and get it to 2-2 because they're a really good team? I don't know. What are you referring to? You seem upset with me about something. Harry says Trippier will score a free kick. I hope not. Saida says, I understand that Arteta doesn't trust some of his players, but at some point you have to work with what you have and utilize the squad properly. I mean, at this point, I understand, like, I think there was an earlier time where I don't know what you mean. He's talking about the Spurs match. They didn't want it. They didn't want it bad enough. Okay, yeah, I get that. Okay, so I understand this point about sometimes you have to use your team, but like we're kind of beyond that now. There's just some players that he just doesn't trust. I think there was a period of time during January, February where we were playing really, really well. and he could have sprinkled in some of the fringe guys to try to give them some playing time. But, now we're a little bit further from that. But I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. And regards to what Chike said, they didn't want it bad enough or whatever. They did. I'm not going to sit there and say that they didn't want it at all. You know what I mean? Like, I think that that's just kind of a flippant statement to say they didn't want it. They didn't want it. They clearly wanted it. They wanted it badly. But when you go down to 10 men, were Man City down to 10 men? I don't think so. Were they playing a team that was completely like they were playing West Ham? That team is so inferior to them in every single way. Were we playing a team that's super inferior to us? No. I think to say that Arsenal just didn't want it is disingenuous, to be honest. I think that that's just at the end of the day, when we're down to 10 men, it's done. We're just not the type of team that can come back at that point. I don't know. Like they just didn't want it. It doesn't feel like that's the truth. Yeah. I think Rob Holding really effed us. That's what I really think. Because he was an idiot. Josh says, exactly, ain't no point cursing the owners or if our fans content with Poundland Europa, we cannot accept choking top 4. That means the season was a waste. I don't think it's a waste. So I think we're getting too far into league gunner mode where if you don't get Champions League, it means nothing. And even if you get Champions League, it means nothing because you didn't win the league. I think we're going too far here. Obviously, we still would be in European competition. We still will have finished a season probably in a better position than a lot of people thought we would. So the idea that our season was a waste if we don't get into Champions League, I think is, again, disingenuous. I can understand being frustrated, but let's not go too far into, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world mode. So there you go. Amira says, you're right, Jess. We've always lost at least 2 games back to back, and we haven't won a Monday night game all season. But times we've had short turnarounds, we've actually done all right. So that's some stuff kind of going in our direction. Steve says, we held with 10 against Wolves in it, but do Wolves have Harry Kane and Son? And at that time, we had Thomas Partey. We had basically our best 11. We've been playing without our best 11 for so long that I really do think that people honestly forget that we've been playing with a very weakened squad for a very long time. We haven't had our best 11 since Crystal Palace. When we played against Wolves, we literally had our best 11 and we were still kind of struggling at that point. We had Thomas Partey, we had Tierney, we had everybody that we needed except for maybe Tomiyasu was out. No, I think was Tommy there? I don't know. But we have a very weakened squad that we've been playing with that has been actually weakened further by the additional injuries to our center backs. So I hear what you guys are saying, like, oh, well, we did it against Wolves. Why couldn't we do it against Spurs? This was a completely different temperature than that Spurs match away from home. We were at these, our Spurs are our biggest, our Wolves our biggest enemies? Like, no. Do they have Son and Kane? Wolves can't even score goals. Like, come on. We have to let's not try to make 1 + 1 = 2 all the time. It doesn't make sense. So yeah, you guys. Anyways, so I don't know who's going to start. I don't know who's going to play, but let's go ahead and do a little bit of a lineup here. Get in the chat. Let me know what you guys are thinking, and like the video, subscribe to the channel. I know we're really emotional right now. I can feel the anxiety in the chat box. Fair enough. Like if you're not anxious, you probably need to get your head checked because this is a huge game. If we don't win this, it doesn't matter. So I understand that 110%. I don't feel the confidence in the chat, but I understand why. So I know you guys can probably see that now. So I think Arteta made a huge mistake not putting Tomiyasu on Son. I will never understand that decision to put him on the side that didn't really matter. I'll never get it. Because at that point, then you had, Cedric, your 2 backups on one side together and Tomiyasu on the left-hand side playing kind of out of position, even though he can kind of play anywhere. It didn't make any sense. So Arteta needs to make the right decision this time around. Now, what do Newcastle have? What do Newcastle have? They don't have a particularly prolific anything. Alan St. Maximum is pretty, he has no end product. Like, he's tricky and quick and good on the counter, and in open space, but he's not particularly, um, he doesn't have a lot of end product. Almiron, very similar. Fast, kind of tricky, works really hard, no end product. If they play Chris Wood, I don't think he's been that great for Newcastle, but he's a really big center forward, so he'll give our center backs a difficult time. But also, they have Kieran Trippier back, who can basically put any ball on the top of somebody's head. So that presents another kind of issue here. So let me just pull up. Yeah, Chris Wood, he's had 2 goals. So that's not really probably the goal return that they wanted. But again, he's a big physical center back. And if you're going to score a goal after not scoring for a long time, welcome Arsenal to your doorstep, because we'll give you a goal, right? So those are kind of their front players. Callum Wilson, he's coming back from a very, very big injury. So I don't know if they'll play him, like they'll start him against us, because he hasn't played in a very long time. So I would expect to see, like, Chris Wood up top. Let's see. Let's actually look and see what they did last game. It's so crazy how little confidence we really have. So yeah, you'll probably see somewhat of this same group up top for them as Saint Maximum, Almiron, and Chris Wood. And then they're playing Joe Linton and Bruno Guimaraes and somebody else, Longstaff, somebody in midfield. And then they have their back line. So what Eddie Howe has done a really good job at is dropping Joe Linton from the front line and playing him as a midfielder. Joe Linton has done a really good job there. And so what that creates is a more combative midfield for Newcastle. Him and Bruno Guimaraes do get stuck in. They work really hard. And so El Neni and Granit Xhaka and Odegaard are going to need to have a game. They're going to need to enter the game. They're going to need to be involved in the game. And we're going to need to control the midfield. They're going to want to get the game very stretched, and they're not going to want to play kind of how Man City did them, controlling the game, putting them in a deep block and really pushing them back. That's kind of how they want to play, but Man City was really good at stopping their counterattacks. We're not as good at that. I almost feel like it would be in our benefit to almost have a more open game, kind of like how when we played against West Ham, how we played against Man United, and how we played against Chelsea. Because if we have to try to break down a low block, we'll never break it down with the players that we have right now. They're just not, we don't have a team that can pick a lock, but we do have a team that can play pretty decently on the counter. It's just a matter of how dangerous are they going to be going the other direction. So yeah, with that, let's go ahead and build the lineup. Make sure you guys are liking the video and subscribe to the channel. Ramsdale, obviously being goal. If St. Maximum is on the left, Tomiyasu needs to be on the right. He's the only person that can keep up with him. Cedric will get eaten alive by St. Maximum. And even though he doesn't have any end product, he will have end product in a very meaningless game at home against us tomorrow. So let's just put Tomiyasu on the right and just do that. And I'm assuming that Ben White and Gabriel are going to be fit. Even though I'm not sure that they will, but I'm just going to assume that they are. Let's say that they're not. You're going to have to play Tavares and Cedric, right? It just is what it is. But I'm assuming that they're both going to be fit, because Arteta hasn't said that they're not. Ben White was on the bench, and he kind of needs to play because, like, at this point, we have nothing else to play for. This is it. Gabriel, please be fit, you guys, because if we don't, we're gonna have the Cedric and Tavares clown show. So this is what I would go with. There's no point in playing Cedric anymore. Like he's terrible unless we have to. Daniel says Saint Maximum is a baller. He's not. He's a guy that can dribble and has no end product. To me. Rancid says Gabriel is injured. Is that for sure or not? Because Arteta didn't say for sure that he was going to be out at this game. And there's been rumors that he's going to play tomorrow. So he may have been taken out as a precaution. So that's what we're going to assume. If you guys want me to do the lineup based on these guys being not fit, I can. I can. So there you go. Rancid says if he was, then why didn't Arteta just say he wouldn't be able to play? He said that they still need more information and they would make a decision today. So again, it's kind of like if Arteta didn't if he was going to be 100% out, then why didn't Arteta just say that? But I guess you guys want to assume that he's going to be out. I have a sneaky suspicion that he'll play, but if this is what you guys want to go with, fine. Tamiyasu, Ben White, and then you have to play Cedric. There. I also want to I know people are like, oh, well, I'm going to clip you now because you said that Alan St. Maximum is not a baller. He's not. And even if he scored against us, he's not. And he's not a young kid. He's 25 years old, and he still is basically like a Dama Traore out there with skill. So, no, I don't think so. He's not that good. And I don't care if he scores on us tomorrow. He's not. So there you go. That's probably what we'll see. One of Ben White or Gabriel will play tomorrow. There's no way we go in there with Xhaka at center back. I don't think so. So here we go with this midfield. These guys need to have a game. They need to be involved in the game. They need to not get ran over in midfield by Joe Linton and Bruno Guimaraes. That's going to be very embarrassing for us. I don't know if you guys noticed, but Bruno Guimaraes' whole, welcome to Newcastle video was all about Arsenal. He clearly felt some type of way, clearly wanted to make us into some sort of joke, and will try to do the same against us tomorrow. So these guys need to show up. I feel like they got ran over in midfield by Højbjerg and Bentancur, and it had started before the red card even was a thing. So you had a day off. Now it's time to show up. And this is where I feel like El Neni needs to earn that contract. I know that people feel like he did that in those couple of games. It's these games as well. Like if he's going to be the guy deputizing for Thomas Partey, he needs to be able to step up and be a big game player in the games that really, really matter. These are the ones that matter. The Spurs ones, the Newcastle, these ones really matter. So they can't have anonymous games. They can't be getting ran over. They can't be shaky on the ball. Granit Xhaka against Spurs being so shaky on the ball is like, what's the point of experienced players if they're not going to be the ones that can put their foot on top of the ball and say, okay, we're going to win this. When it really, really counts, they don't do the job. So they need to do it this time. And Odegaard obviously went missing against Spurs and had some really bad shots and all that kind of stuff. Not really for the Odegaard slander, but I get why people are frustrated with him in that game. Hopefully he steps up in this one. I don't think he'll be so anonymous in this one, but, you never really know. And then the front line, I think some of it picks itself. Bukayo will most likely play whether he's fit or not. And then left wing, I could see maybe Emile Smith-Rowe coming in. Martinelli's played a lot of minutes. And so I'm actually going to go with Smith-Rowe. I do think he'll play, especially if we have to play Nuno, which I think in any scenario we'll end up playing Nuno. So it's better to have him with Emile than him with Martinelli anyway. And then this is, I think, the interesting conversation because I could see Lacazette coming back into this game. Arteta may feel like we need experience. And I don't know. Maybe Lacazette comes back into this game as experienced player and Nketiah plays off the bench, it's going to be a hostile environment. It's not going to be a nice warm day out at the Emirates. It's going to be a shitty day at St. James. So maybe you do bring somebody like Lacazette in to bring in some more experience for the young players. We need somebody who, if they get one chance, they're going to put it in the back of the net. I don't know if that's Lacazette. I don't know if that's Nketiah, but what do you guys think? Does Nketiah keep his spot? Do we bring in Lacazette? Lacazette looked bright off the bench against Spurs, so maybe he's had enough rest. It can be useful now for this last game. I'm not sure. What do you guys think about striker? B9 says, just trust Nketiah. It's a lot of trust. Martin says, Laka should start. JB says, I'd rather play Nuno over Cedric if everyone is fit. I think so as well. I don't think there's any benefit to playing Cedric. If your senior players are the ones that are shaky on the ball, what's the point? Might as well play a bunch of kids. The whole point of having experienced players is that they step up in these moments, and they haven't done that. They're the most shaky in these moments, and it's just so weird. Cedric has been playing in the Premier League for 10 fucking years. Excuse my language, and he gets into games against big teams like he did against Manchester United, and he did last season in the Europa League and this season against Spurs, and is not looking experienced. And it pisses me off because that's the whole reason why we brought him in, was because he's supposed to be experienced. What's the point if you're not going to be the guys that are calming everybody down? It just is ridiculous. Zitch says Nketiah stays. You guys let me know in the chat what you guys think about Nketiah or Lacazette. Josh says, yeah, I agree. Laka is back. Martin says Nketiah till 65 minutes. Enzo says Laka starts if ESR plays. Let's see. Josh says, but choosing between Eddie and Laka's between fart and diarrhea. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Lord Gunnar says Cedric has struggled every game since Tommy was out. There were tweets that were saying that Tomiyasu doesn't walk straight back into this team. I really think that when you're looking at something and you get used to it and you start to believe that that's what you've always seen. No, there has been a real big difference in the way that we played between January and March. And now that we've seen all these fringe guys come into the game, it's no surprise that we've given up more goals. We're not scoring as many. We're not controlling the game as much. We're playing with a significantly worse team than we were when we were playing our best football. So when I see people say things like El Neni's been playing better than Thomas Partey ever played this season, you're crocked. You're actually on crack. I don't know what you're doing. So the same thing about Cedric starting over Tomiyasu because he's better in attack. We have been in the hood for a while now, and it's finally caught up to us. So we need as little of these players out there as possible, but we can't really do anything about it now. So we just have to kind of wing it now. I think not really going attack is our best thing, but trying to control the game and being really cagey and not really going for it and eventually giving up one goal and not being able to come back, I don't think is the way to go for it. I really think we have to kind of have a Chelsea, Man United type game, and we may give up a couple goals, but it'll give us the opportunity to score more. Tony says Tommy is wifey level. His best position is anywhere on the back line. I mean, I do feel a little bit better with Tomiyasu back there, but again, it depends on who else is out there. And you probably want this is probably the best case scenario if you have Tomiyasu and Ben White, is that Tomiyasu is next to Tavares and White is next to Cedric. You can't have two of the backups next to each other. And that's kind of what we had against Spurs. You had Holding and Cedric trying to manage the best winger in the league. So stupid, so maybe Tommy will be able to help Tavares and White will be able to help Cedric. It just sucks that you have to do so many jobs at once. Let's see. Lynn says, I would like to see Laka and Nketiah play up front together in a 4-4-2 type of thing. Changing the system to something that we haven't really played that often, I think would be a mistake. But I get what you're saying. Maybe that would give us something a little bit different. I just don't think I've ever seen Nketiah and Lacazette play well together. I don't think they link well together. And And then also you have to figure out who is not gonna play if you play like a 4-4-2, and a lot of times that means that you would have to risk like or not have Odegaard out there unless you played a 3-5-2. Feels like a lot of changes. Um, or you could just play Eddie out wide since he's a decent wide man, but he's not better out wide than Martinelli or ESR. So, but I get what you're saying. We need something in this game. So I'm actually gonna go with I actually think maybe playing Lacazette and then bringing in Eddie in like the 60 something minute and taking out a defender if we're stressed out might be the best thing to go. We need something solidified, somebody that can deal with the nerves of being at a in a nerve-wracking situation and having all those young players together. I mean, as much as we want to say like, well, they handled the pressure away from home at Stamford Bridge, that wasn't a hostile environment. We do well at Stamford Bridge. You know, it's not a hostile environment. They are on the beach. They didn't give a shit. I don't think Newcastle is going to be like that. It's going to be rocking. They're going to know what this means to us and they're going to be licking their chops to take it away from us. So having maybe just one more experienced player, maybe Lacazette just needed a rest. I know that we've kind of convinced ourselves that Lacazette was just shit, but we played our best football with Lacazette between January and March. He ran out of gas. So I don't think it's like, oh, Eddie is like light years ahead of Lacazette. I just think we saw something else that worked when what we were dealing with, we were sick of. So maybe bringing in Lacazette wouldn't be that bad, especially if they try to flood the midfield and Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Linton are getting the best of the midfielders that we have. Having somebody else that drops in deep and can actually fight with them might be beneficial. But you guys can let me know how you feel because I still think that there's room to maybe when if we're struggling to score a goal, bring in Eddie and Ketia, take off Cedric, you know, or something, and go with a back three or something like that. Drop El Neni to the back, move Tavares up, and then just place like more attacking football. Let's see. Ale says Laka versus Burn. I mean, Laka versus Eddie and Ketia. What's the difference? They're all short. You know, none of them are getting any header balls. I mean, the only difference is that Nketiah will get stuck in, but Lacazette used to get stuck in as well. You know, you don't have the threat in behind. You know, that might be a little bit of a, you know, we just don't. We're thinking about the least worst scenario right now. Nothing is really that much better than anything else. Lord Gunnar says Gabriel Jesus couldn't come fast enough. We're literally starving. We are. I mean, we don't have very good attacking options. B9 says, just when I saw Son rinsing Cedric and holding against Tottenham, I remembered your preview. You said anything other than Tommy versus Son is going to be a mismatch, and you were right. I think the thing about it, though, is like it's not obvious, like, or it's not, it wasn't not obvious. It was like super like in your face that was the right thing to do. So that's why I don't really understand why it wasn't done. You know, I just don't really understand why he didn't put that. Put Son on or put Tommy on Son. Cece says, I think Lacazette might be a better fit for this game. Take on the pressure a little bit more than Eddie. That's kind of where I'm going for with that is just feeling like we need maybe somebody that's been in a pressurized situation before. Again, we don't have the type of experienced players that I think these young players deserve, which is players that have been in Champions League before, have fought and won things before. You know, Foden is in such good hands over there at City. I think our players could really benefit from playing with world-class players. They're not going to get that opportunity, but we have what we have, and Lacazette is our best bet. Him and Xhaka are the closest things to players that could probably play in the Champions League or play at better teams. El Neni, Holding, Cedric are all average as hell. Like, you know, so we need something different. That doesn't mean Nketiah hasn't done a good job or can't come on and do something. But and maybe Nketiah and Martinelli off the bench when we inevitably struggle to score the goal might be good. Let's see. Ify says Laka was knackered just like the way Saka is right now. Hopefully he can be 100% ready for the last two games. I think we might need Lacazette. Enzo says first 20 minutes will be vital. If we concede, we are in real trouble. Yeah, but we've known this since minute one, haven't we? That's the kind of team that we are. I've been talking about this in all my group chats. Don't concede an early goal. don't score and then concede right after, which has become a worrying trend in the last couple of games. We've done that a lot, as we're very vulnerable once we score. Don't get a red card, don't get sent off, don't get injured. And so the assignment is still the same. I just wonder if we're going to be able to, you know, pass our assignment. I do see us conceding a goal or two. I really do. I just don't think we have it right now. It's just a matter of, can we score first? Sometimes if we score first, we do okay, but we cannot go down. Lynn says, when Nuno came on, he threatened because he set Odegaard up because his pace was blistering. That's another thing about using Nuno over Cedric. Cedric adds nothing in either box. Defensively, he's not very good, and attacking wise, he's not very good. I know Tavares is like a walking calamity defensively, but attacking wise, he's hard to deal with. And so he might give, I mean, this is Newcastle. I know Newcastle have been fourth in the form table at one point. So were we as well. So it doesn't really mean that much, but they've been playing well since January, and they bought all those players, right? But they're still not like player for player, like way better than we are. And Tavares played against Manchester United and Chelsea. It wasn't great, but at least he added some sort of attacking threat, where Cedric adds nothing in that regard. He needs to get off of set pieces. He's just not. So I think using Tavares, against like a Trippier type of player, like if Trippier plays, I think, doesn't Trippier play on the right-hand side, or does he play on the left? I'm not sure. But their fullbacks are not amazing. They're doing a lot better, but they're not amazing. I mean, Tavares, just get him into some space and let him cook, man. We need to just go for it. I think it's gonna be an ugly game. 00 Slice says, yes, one thing Nuno has is his pace. Defensively, he makes us nervous. But if he has to play, then let's use what he has to our advantage. I think that's something we haven't done very well, is saying, okay, Nuno is really good in this way. Let's use him that way. We've kind of expected him to be something that he's not, and then try to play him like that. No, you have to just let him go forward, make him play like a wing back. Eddie says, I never want to see Laka play for Arsenal again. He has been a big time disappointment. Guy has never scored 20 goals in a season for us, and we paid over 50 million pounds for him. Yeah, but that's not really important right now, whether or not we need to use him now. Like right now, he may be a good solution to something for this particular game. So I understand that, but like, I'm looking at, we have no resources. And if it's between him and Eddie and Ketia, and I'm thinking it's going to be a really difficult, hostile environment where a lot of our players are going to be mistouching the ball and really wobbly on the ball. Do we need another kid up there? Or do we need Lacazette, somebody that can also drop into midfield and help us a little bit there? We might need that to have some control in this game. So I understand the sentiment. I don't want to see him play anymore for Arsenal Football Club. We have about, a week or so until we never have to see that. Right now, we need to get into Champions League. So if that means using Lacazette, that's what I would do instead of, I don't want to see Pepe play anymore, but I think that he may be somebody, if we're chasing the game, I would put him on, Yo-Yo says, Arsenal needs goals to win. ESR and Nuno have to start. Lynn says he played on the left. Okay, so Trippier will be on the other side. And then so who plays on the right for them? Is that Emil Kraft person or somebody else? Or no, Target plays on the left for them. Let me see. Target plays on the left. So he has to have played on the right. Kieran Trippier. But either one, like Nuno Tavares can do some damage on the attacking end against them. Martin says Trippier would have nightmares with Tavares and Martinelli running at him for 90 minutes. I think so, but also Martinelli, like, as much as I love him, he's not scoring a lot. And if we have one chance, maybe it would be nice if Emil Smith-Rowe is out there, because he tends to be a little bit, if he gets one chance, he might score, so I think you might want to use somebody like Emil Smith-Rowe in this game. And then if things are not going right, bring on Martinelli and Nketiah. But I hear what you're saying. I don't think Newcastle are good because they're in a good spot and they don't have anything to worry about. And they've, got some decent players and they're happy and they're in a good spot. But like, are they so much better than us? No. Lynn says, I have asked you before, Jess, if we could do a Saka because Saka is mentally tired as well as physically tired. If I have asked you before, Jess, if he could do a Saka because Saka is mentally tired. Are you talking about Tavares playing for Saka? Let me know if that's what you mean. Um, yeah, so either way, like I don't really rate a lot of their fullbacks. I know Trippier is good on the ball, but I do think that running against you know, Tavares may be difficult for any of them. Bernard says he must start with Pepe and White. I think Pepe off the bench, maybe, but I don't think he needs to start. Pepe starting on the same side as Cedric potentially is definitely a very weak right side for Arsenal. So I do think that off the bench is a decent option, but not to start. White has to start though. Yeah, so Nuno, I've seen a lot of people say let's convert Nuno into a winger. You guys know kind of how I feel about this. Maybe in an emergency situation, I do think Nuno will probably become some form of a Maitland-Niles for us, kind of a utility knife that can do multiple things. At the end of games, a closer, if you will, or somebody that can come in and create havoc. The way that Ainsley Maitland-Niles did for us sometimes. To lock down games, but if they converted you from a winger to a fullback or a wing back because you weren't good enough to be a winger, then you're not going to be able to be converted back. I think it's already been kind of concluded that he's not good enough to be a winger. That's why he's a wing back. So I don't really see that in his future. If we need to bring in a winger, just bring in Pepe. That's what he's there for. But Nuno, I do think you just need to use him differently and let him bomb forward and do his thing instead of saying, okay, what I need you to do is pass this ball and stand here and do this, because that's just not in his wheelhouse right now. Yo-Yo says, I think Martinelli will be perfect off the bench to tire Trippier, who missed a lot of football. Exactly. I think Martinelli and Nketiah off the bench might be a good choice. Blaze says, what do you think about Jess? Do you think Cedric and Holding will leave Arsenal in the summer? Because I don't want to watch any more of them play for Arsenal next season. I have no idea, Blaze. We just gave Holding a really big contract. Not a big one, but a longer one. So I think Arteta's kind of content with him being like a fourth choice kind of guy because he's a good culture guy, a good guy. And I feel like I would still believe that, if he had not gotten the red card. I'm being really harsh on him right now because I am pissed at what he did at Spurs. I thought he lost his head and he was just an idiot. But ultimately, I think he'll stay. Now, Cedric, I think there's a chance for him to go. And if we bring in Hickey and we bring in a right back and we just bought Tavares, I think he has more to give us than Cedric has. So if anybody goes between him or Tavares, it has to be Cedric, right? So I think the key is that if they stay, they can't be the next man up. They can't be the backup. They have to be the backup's backup. And so if you bring in Saliba, then ultimately Holding becomes the number 4, so you won't see him as much. And if you bring in Hickey and a right back, you won't see Cedric. So I think that that's okay. They just can't be the next man up. And that's our issue, is that they are, and they're just not good enough, and they're playing a lot of minutes right now. And it was okay when it was like 1 or 2 games, but now it's getting to crunch time and we're like, oh yeah, they're not good. Yeah, they're not. Yeah, exactly. So Tony says Nuno just needs minutes to learn positioning. He has everything else. I think Nuno has tools that a lot of people would want to use. Whether or not Arteta has the time to mold him into something, I don't know. But like, I'd much rather see that than Cedric, because Cedric's not going to get any better. Utah says our center back partnership's probably going to be Xhaka and Tommy, sadly. Also, Dan Burn is going to be dangerous from corners. Yeah, they have some tall guys, Joe Linton, Chris Wood, Dan Burn. So we've been susceptible on corners lately. As soon as we started praising ourselves over this corner record, we started giving them up. like nobody's business. But I don't think Xhaka and Tommy will be our center backs. I do think one of Gabrielle or White will be not fully fit, but playing tomorrow with Tomiyasu. Xhaka has got to stay in midfield. If you take him out of midfield, we might as well just not even play the game. There's no way you put Sambi in there with Elneny and Odegaard and expect to do anything against Joe Linton and Bruno Guimaraes. I mean, that's why, like, and this is just a sidebar conversation, why I don't understand why Arsenal doesn't really attack the midfield and try to improve it in a substantial way. Because when you just peel off that initial layer of our midfield, it's probably just about a top four midfield with Thomas Partey, Xhaka, and Odegaard. But once you peel back that a little bit, you have a not 100% Thomas Partey, or you have Elneny instead of Thomas Partey, or you have Elneny and Xhaka. It's just not good enough. Lakanga, it instantly becomes mid-table, if not worse, in my opinion. I just don't think our midfield is that good. So I don't really understand why we go into every single window and say we're just going to get one midfielder and it's just going to be like a kid or something like that. I just don't get it. I think that's one of our biggest weaknesses is once you peel back that initial layer, and the game, like everybody says, is won and lost in midfield. And when you have Elneny and Xhaka and Odegaard, it's just, I think you go from a top four midfield right down to mid-table. And it's just unfortunate that we never do anything about it. And then your backup center backs are your midfielders anyway, or your backup left back ends up being a center mid. So it annoys me like that. We've been talking about this for years about our midfield, and we still just are like, or just get one. It's crazy. That's just a sidebar though. Javishnu says, sorry, I just joined. Why is Lacazette starting over Nketiah? The reason why I said that was because I think it's going to be a hostile environment and a very difficult scenario. I think there's going to be some North London derby hangover. So with so many young players and a very mismatched team that's not very good right now, I do think you need some experience up there. And then you can bring in Nketiah and Martinelli later. I just don't think if you go into this game with an organized back four and a solid midfield like Newcastle does, you're going to get much change out of them with Nketiah up top and all the jitters and all that kind of stuff. So I would just like to maybe see Lacazette come back in. I know that he's been terrible, but we never really rotated him out. We never gave him a rest, and he looked sharp coming off the bench. So I think I would start him in this game because it's a very, very big game, and we're going to need some senior players to really step up because the kids can't do it by themselves. Amira asked, do you see us probably playing a back three the next two games and packing the midfield for protection if we're really that short on defenders, or does that scream desperate defeated? If he didn't do it in the North London derby, I don't see him doing it now. I think Arteta will go with pretty much what he's been doing, and just die on the sword if he has to. So I don't see us playing a back three, and I don't even understand who would the third center back be. Who would that third center back be? We don't have three center backs. So you're going to play three center backs with Cedric as a center back and Saka as a wing back. I don't see it. So for me, it's a little bit like, I think we'll only have two center backs probably. So we'll play those two center backs, and we'll play with two fullbacks, and maybe Elneny will drop in a little bit and try to, give some cover, but I don't really see a back three. And we definitely are not going to play a back three against Everton in our own house. We're not going to do it, especially because Holding will be back. Chris Leary says, enjoying the discussion about the defense, wings, and Nketiah versus Lacazette to start. Midfield battle going to be interesting. They converted Joe Linton to a box-to-box. Also, Bruno Guimaraes is a big threat. They have some big guys that can get stuck in, and they're not crap. Jonjo Shelvey is their best passer of the ball, but also Bruno Guimaraes is a great passer of the ball, and he's really good at finding players in space and behind the defense. on counterattacks. And that's what they're going to try to do to us. And that's where it's going to be really important to stop St. Maximum and Almiron. They're not great players, but if you give them the space and the time, they'll do it to you. So I do think that like the midfield is going to be really important. El Neni and Xhaka are going to have to show up for this game. They're not going to be able to just, just be there and kind of like, No, they're going to have to be like on Joe Linton and Bruno Guimaraes. And I think they'll struggle a little bit, but that might be where Lacazette being kind of like more of a false nine type and dropping into midfield may give us numbers in midfield to get the ball to Emil Smith-Rowe and Saka in space. But and they need to use that side with Saka. If we could get him up against Dan Burn, we've seen it before. If you get him up against Dan Burn, he might struggle a little bit, but then you have Target there and he's pretty good. So it'll be interesting to see how we can figure out a way to attack. It can't look like they have 6 or 7 players and we have 3 up there, though. We need to figure out a way to create overloads in wide spaces or overloads centrally. We need to figure out a way to attack them. And I don't particularly know how that's going to happen, because if we go for it, we'll expose ourselves as well. But we have to go for it, don't we? This is it. Daniel says 0 chance Pepe is starting. Even if Saka didn't play, Martinelli would go to the right wing. Yeah, he's not starting, you guys. Lynn says Trippier is not 100% fit and he's quite slow. Yeah, I mean, and that's why you want to maybe get ESR and Tavares on that side together going at him. So Reggie says Cedric is on record saying he's not going anywhere. I've seen a lot of players say they're not going anywhere and leave. Doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything at all, as far as I'm concerned. I never listen to players when they say they're not going anywhere, because I've seen tons of players say, you know what, I'm going to stay here, love the club, blah, blah, blah. And a good offer comes in and bam, they're out, So let's kind of talk about how we think the game might go. Let's talk about how the game might go. So I think I think we're going to be really nervy. I really do. I think the hangover is going to be there. And the reason why I think that is I've never seen us lose a game this season and not have a hangover. I think the only time that we lost and we kind of rebounded decently was the Liverpool game. We lost and I think we won the very next game. I think that was Villa. And then we went on international break and then shot the bed when we came back. So we have to stop this from being us losing in clusters. I don't know how we do it, but we need to do it. Arsenal don't draw. They win or lose, So my biggest fear is that the early goal goes in for them and then we just that's it. We half-heartedly try to score goals. We can't really create clear-cut chances. We've seen that story before, and then that's it. So for me, I am really worried about this game, and I think a lot of Gooners are scared because we've seen it. We know this team. Anybody that's sitting there saying, like, why would you think we're not going to win? It's Newcastle, hasn't been paying attention to the season. It doesn't matter who we're playing. Doesn't matter if they're bad or not. We lost to a really shitty Everton team because we had hangover after the Manchester United game. So it could go either way. What I'll say is that this team has everything in their power to win the game. We have players that can win. If we play our game, we will win. If we have a hangover, we won't win. And I do think, just like the script is so the same as it's always been. Score first. Don't get scored on within the first 5 minutes of you scoring a goal. Don't get sent off. Don't get injured. That's the assignment. And so how do we go ahead and get that first goal? I think that we need to be smart. What I don't want to see is for us to kind of go for it in the first 5 to 10 minutes and not, because what we tend to do is we always go for it in those first 5 to 10 minutes to try to get the goal. And if we don't get it, then they come down one time, get a penalty, dodgy corner, dodgy something, and score. So we will go for it. In the first 5 to 10 minutes, we'll go for it. We'll be shaky, but we'll go for it. Whatever chance we get, in those first 5 to 10 minutes, it needs to go in the back of the fucking net. I'm not even joking. It needs to be kind of how we did Leicester away from home at the beginning of the season. I know that was a different time. We still weren't as good as we were in our best period of the season, by the way. When we beat Leicester, we were still kind of trying to put things together. But we went there, and in the first 5 minutes, we scored a goal, and then we scored a second one, and the game was pretty much done from there. That's kind of what we need to happen. We need to whatever we get, we need to score. Now, if we don't panic. Don't panic. If we don't score in the first 5 to 10 minutes, sit in and let them come at us a little bit, I think. Don't get scored on. Try not to. And if it's still 0-0 before the halftime, for the love of God, do not give up a goal right before half. Do not do it. Don't do it. But I think the only way that we win this game is if we score within the first, I would say, 20 minutes of the game. It's got to be quick. It has to be right at the beginning. So we're going to have to be clinical. And the worst part about trying to be clinical with this team is that we're a young team. And unlike Spurs that only need one chance to put the ball in the back of the net, we need 4 or 5 chances to do it. So attacking wise, we're going to have to go for it. But somehow we're going to have to keep them out. I don't think they're that good of an attacking side. I think they're playing up right now, and they're happy, and they're playing with joy and freedom because they're out of the relegation zone and they know that they're safe. But attacking wise, I don't see anybody that's like a Son. I don't see anybody that's like a Kane. But we know you don't really have to be like that in order to score against Arsenal. So I do think it's a matter of, again, going forward in the first 5 to 10 minutes. If we get any sort of chance, it has to go in the back of the net. And we need to put them under some sort of pressure. I do think we're best when we put them under pressure, we press them, and we put them in a situation where they have to make decisions. And if we could do that, I think we'll score a goal early. If we don't score that goal early, just try to get into the half without conceding. That's the most important thing. But we've known this about Arsenal. We know that this is what it is. We have to score first. We have to be on the front foot. We can't kind of stay back and hold them off. We can't do that. And they also can't be nervous. I know they will be, but the nervousness really got to us against Spurs. And I know that people were saying, well, it was just Rob Holding. It wasn't. It was the entire team. When you have your senior players, Xhaka just giving the balls away, Cedric giving the balls away, you're taking pot shots in bad angles instead of just being relaxed. It just ripples through the team. And from everything that they've said, from like literally everything that they've said this season, they said that they believe. So they need to play like it. They need to play like a team that believes. They need to play like a team that knows that they deserve to be in Champions League. It's just as simple as that. And yeah, if we see the nervousness, I think we'll lose. I think we'll give up a stupid goal, and that'll be it. But if we play kind of like how we did against Chelsea, there was a little bit of nervousness, but there was also some confidence there. We might be able to do something. Remember, Chelsea was on the beach as well. Away from home against Chelsea, they were kind of on the beach. Again, it wasn't a hostile environment, but we were able to go out there with a little bit of a pressing scheme, a little bit of a system and a way of playing that got us into positions where we could hurt them. And we had we were in a lot of positions to hurt them. So, yeah, I think we just need to get that early goal within the first 5 to 10 minutes would be ideal. Knock the wind out of St. James's Park, try to get a second one, and just don't capitulate before halftime. Don't give them any sense of the ability to come back. And yeah, this team has everything in its power to do it. We have enough quality out there. It's not quite the quality that we need over a full season. But I do think we have enough to get it over the line against this Newcastle team, but we'll see. Also, I think this is important as well. Morel says, if the referee is fair tomorrow, we will win. Don't give the referee an opportunity to take the game away from us. Any 50-50 decision is not going in our direction. We just have to assume that. Any decision that can be interpreted one or the other way, it's going to go against us, right? We'll be at St. James's Park. Their fans will be up for it. They'll call it against us. Don't give them a choice to make. So that's with defending in your box. That's with, the early fouls. If we're going to rotational foul, which there's nobody really to rotational foul, they don't have anybody that good up top. But if you foul them, don't continuously foul until you get a yellow card. Don't do a senseless tackle, keep your feet in the box. I'd rather them score because they did it instead of giving away a penalty or a red card. Almiron and St. Maximum are floppers as well. So we have to be really careful about, on the halfway line, if they're on the counter, putting, they're going to flop a lot. We have to be really careful in the box and on the halfway line because they're going to be trying to get us sent off. They're also going to sense that nervousness and understand what it means to us and really the temperature around Arsenal right now. So I do think there's going to be a lot of manufacturing of fouls and trying to get us sent off. But at some point, we have to be smart. We have to not be stupid. That's just how I really feel about it. If we're stupid enough to give the referees a choice to make, then that's on us, and I'm really looking at if he plays Gabriel and then Granit Xhaka, those are the two I'm really looking at as okay, make sure that you guys are, have your heads on straight, because the narrative around the red cards and the ill discipline and the nervousness and the team is capitulating and they're just wild and out of control. It's out there, and Newcastle will play into it, and so will the referee if we let them. Justin says Pepe is frustrating, but he never plays with the solid right back behind him, even when he is good. I mean, then if that's the case, then why is Saka able to play? I just don't really buy that with the Pepe thing. I think it's unfortunate that he came into the team at the time that he did. I think it's unfortunate that we bought him for the amount of money that we bought him for. I do think that maybe Arteta could have done a better job to try to change the system to play the way that he wants to play. But some managers use what they have and try to get the best out of it, and other managers create the system. And if you don't fit, you don't fit. Arteta is the latter. I think it's more of an unfortunate situation than anything else. Pepe has had enough opportunities, I think, to make something happen, to try to adapt to the way that we play. He has not adapted to us. Arteta has not adapted to him. It just hasn't worked out. He just needs to go. Lynn says they do not know how to roll around the field. Oh, they know how to roll around the field. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of simulation for sure. Swinda Flesh says, would you give Saka a rest and start Pepe? No, I wouldn't. I just don't think Pepe we're just at the business end now, and Saka is keyed in. He's aware of what's going on. Pepe, I think he's thinking about his next move. And so I wouldn't trust him in a big game now, especially not away from home. So I just think it's a no. Off the bench, maybe to score a goal. Yes, not to start. Lynn says, I think, for example, Tommy playing long balls over the top to Nketiah has the pace too. I think if, for example, Tommy played long balls over the top to Nketiah has the pace. Yeah. I mean, that's another part of it is like, if we play the balls over the top, who's going to run after them? But I think ESR can run over the top. I also think Saka can. I have a feeling Nketiah starts, but I think I would start Lacazette. Okay. Gid says we need to stop getting reckless cards or red cards, Jess. Yeah, we do. But have you seen what's happened with Leeds and Everton? The two teams that look like are most likely to be the candidates to go down. I mean, Burnley as well, but they never get cards. But Leeds and Everton are under massive pressure right now, and they're giving up they're getting a lot of red cards. We're no different. Teams that are under pressure that don't have the ability to hold on, we just don't have that about us. And I feel like we have a fragility to us that has been exposed over the last maybe 3 seasons. A lot of it, unfortunately, I have to say, has been under Mikel Arteta, and I'm not quite sure why. But there's a fragility to us where when we start to go down, we can't just hold firm and try not to sink further. We kind of capitulate and crumble and exacerbate the scenario. I don't know how many times we've gotten a red card and then have gotten injuries after that, or lost bigger. If you think about Manchester City, 5-0. Did it have to be 5-0? Did we have to get the red card? You know what I mean? It's just that's just how we are. Against Crystal Palace, did we have to lose 3-0 and then also have the injury to Thomas Partey? It's just kind of who we are at the moment, and it's costing us. We're a team that should feel, you know, I think in pressured moments, teams should feel like they want to prove people wrong or live in that moment and kind of win that moment of pressure. I think we run from it and we succumb to the pressure. And I feel like that's what you saw at Spurs. We've seen it so many times with Arsenal. And I think that's also why we lose 3 games in a row. We just can't stop the bleeding when it happens. It's just who we are right now. I don't know if it's Arteta or if it's the players, combination of both. But yeah, and the senseless red cards, if you look at the teams that are getting red cards right now at a frequency, Leeds and Everton are 2 of them, and it's because they're under massive pressure. Look at what we did against Spurs. That was so unnecessary. You didn't have to do that. You could have lost, but you didn't have to lose like that. So there you go. Let's see. O'Malley says, this is the game where Odegaard will have to show his captain material in this Newcastle game. Yeah, I mean, who do you guys think has to really step up in this game? If you can name one player against Newcastle, just one, that if they have a good game will probably win, who would that player be? Let me know in the chat. Let's see. Lynn says, yes, Jess, but where other teams will get a yellow, we will get a red. And I understand that there's, the perception that we're refereed different. I do think that we get the harsh possible punishment in every single scenario. I do agree with that, but I also think we make it easy for that to happen. And we've always gotten a lot of red cards. If you were alive to witness the Invincibles in that time, we got a lot of red cards then. The difference is that we were so good, it didn't matter. And I think this team is kind of going to have to be the same. When you're a team that's not well liked, a lot of things will go against you, but you will kind of relish that and rise above it. We succumb to it, and we need to get over that and win regardless of what happens to us. So yeah, let me go ahead and put the banner up so I can get you guys to vote. Who needs, let me do this. Beer. Okay. So go ahead and let me know what you guys think. Tony says, one of our front 4 needs to show up big, man of the match style. I hear you. You guys make sure that you like the video and subscribe to the channel. I would also like to do some questions before the end if you guys want to. I know sometimes you do like more structured match previews. I just think this one is about getting our emotions out there because that's all it is right now. It's like formations and all that is kind of out the window. We have a ragtag bunch of players that needed to show up tomorrow, essentially. It is what it is. CC says, Odegaard, if he's given the chance to show his full potential, i.e. no silly red cards, experienced players stepping up, it's not all on him. Yeah, no, I hear that. And I remember us kind of having that conversation in the match review about Odegaard. There's been I also think it's just confirmation bias. We have to remember that a lot of the criticism for some of the players always comes especially the confirmation bias is there for some people off of the back of any loss. So it's easy to say oh, well, Odegaard was a bad signing. He's shit because look at what he did against Spurs. He didn't step up. Where we've had tons of games this season where that was not true. And he was one of the reasons why we did really well. But if you never wanted the signing and you wanted, let's say, Maddison instead, that's just confirmation bias for you. Anytime that Ben White has a shaky game, or, every single pass is not perfect, or a goal is scored against us, confirmation bias should have kept Saliba, bad signing. Ramsdale, a lot of people went really big on Ramsdale being shit. Look how many times he's been relegated. A lot of people were hurt off of the back of him doing well because they had to admit that they were wrong. So anytime he makes a mistake now, it's as if he wasn't saving us at the beginning of the season, right? So I think a lot of the Odegaard criticism and narrative around him off of the back of the Spurs game is more about that, and trying to see, I was right at the beginning of the season that he was shit. The amount of chances that boy is creating, and how when we playing well, like, he's central to it. It's not his fault that he doesn't have as many assists as he should. We don't have a striker. You know what I mean? So I hear what you're saying. But if Odegaard has a good game, we probably win, you know? JB Loading says Odegaard, when he plays well, the team plays well, vice versa. Amira says Ramsdale has been shaky lately. We need the Ramsdale that showed up against Leicester. I agree. Justin says definitely Odegaard. Let's see. Ray says, Jess, is there stats on the refs and the amount of fouls and cards they have given out per team? Would be interesting to see, to run our statistical analysis to extrapolate evidence for bias, if there is any. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Arsenal fans doing a lot of that math late, like at the back end of the season, to see, because there's a lot of like narrative around us being a lot of conspiracies against us. Here's my take on that, Ray. I'm willing to look at the data, and I'm willing to maybe concede that I think that when we're refereed a little bit harsher than other teams. I think we get the maximum punishment, and we never get the benefit of the doubt. Or a lot of times we don't get the benefit of the doubt. But I think on the whole season, if you look at it, I do think that there's some scenarios where we have benefited from the referees giving us decisions. Like if you look at the penalty that we got against West Ham, where Soufal like kind of half touch lock, because I don't know if that's really a penalty. Ramsdale could have easily been sent off against West Ham. I think on the balance of the season, I don't think we ever look at it that way, that there are scenarios where things go in our direction. So I'm willing to kind of say that I do think referees, they don't referee to the temperature of our games, and sometimes lean into the narrative of ill discipline and all that kind of stuff. But equally, I do think that there's enough data for me of what I've watched where I think, we got away with it, where I don't want to lean in too much on the refs. I think we need to be so good that it doesn't matter. And then a lot of that stuff will go away. When we're winning games, nobody's running up these things about fouls and cards and all this kind of stuff. When we lose, we really lean into it hard. And I think it's just us being a little bit wanting to take it away from us and make it more about the referees. But that's just me. I also don't spend a lot of time thinking about the referees' decisions because I mostly focus on us. But that's just me. King State says, if Ben and Tomiyasu is out, how would you form the back line or back three? If Ben and Tomiyasu are out, forfeit. Like, what do you mean? If those two are out, we don't have a back line, so you have to, if they don't play, then it has to be El Neni and Xhaka, and then you play, Lukanga and, I don't know, Saka in midfield with Odegaard. I don't want to think about that. One of, you meant Gabriel, not Tomiyasu. Oh, if they're not there and it's just Tomiyasu, then you have to drop Xhaka back into the back line. That's what I would do. And then it would be Cedric and Tavares. But that sucks, and I don't want to see that. So one of them needs to be fit. Ray says, if Ramsdale keeps a clean sheet and Martinelli scores, we win. We haven't kept a clean sheet in a long time. Ali says, our front line must be sharp and confidence. Martinelli needs to break his deadlock tomorrow. I don't think Martinelli will play. I have a feeling ESR will start. EOL says, there's no doubt in my mind that for reasons which will hopefully be disclosed in my lifetime, there seems to be hateful force towards Arsenal from referees, pundits, commentators, other fans, etc. We talked about this. I tweeted, nobody wants to see us be in the Champions League. If you didn't know, now you know. And the chat room, the WhatsApps, chats that I'm in, just the way that the sigh of relief every single time that we win a game, and the over exaggeration of all of our losses and the invalidation of all of our wins just say to me that people don't want us to see us in Champions League because they know we can attract good players with Champions League. They've loved bantering us for the last 5-6 years, and they don't want it to stop. They want the status quo to continue, and they're very happy having Spurs be in the top 4 because, one, they're not fearful of them at all, and two, they're a team that they like. Nobody is rivals with Spurs except for us. So that's like a double, that's like a killing two birds with one stone. You keep Arsenal out of the Champions League, and it's their arch nemesis in there. So it's like killing two birds with one stone, right? So I do think that there's a level of like hate for Arsenal that has stemmed for like a very, very long time. But, that's just what happens when you're really, really successful, and then people like to see you fail. You also have to look at the age of the people that are doing a lot of the punditry right now. They either played they probably played against good Arsenal teams and got smacked. So there's that hate still there. It's hard to be an unbiased pundit when you played for a team that, wasn't as good as Arsenal, or you felt like you were as good as those players and you never got a chance, or, you didn't like Arsenal because of arson or whatever. So it just is what it is. But if we're good, if we're better, then it doesn't matter. And I think it becomes more of a topic because we don't do what's necessary on the pitch to win the games. I don't think there's many games where we've lost where we could say that we played good enough to win. Usually when we're talking about these conspiracies, we also played like shit. So I would probably lean into it a little bit more if we played so good and we could say the game was taken away from us with refereeing decisions. I think we were always going to lose that Spurs match, you guys. I didn't see a team that looked like they were going to win it. Let's see. Justin says, Arsenal are seen as a banter club. I have no idea what we have done as a fan base to them. We are a humble bunch and not unbearable like United or Liverpool fans. I don't know if you're being facetious, but I would say I would disagree. I think we have a lot of really annoying fans that overdo it. And so when we lose, we have a target on our back. And that's why it's like, look at the way Neville went in on us because our fans went after him about the summer transfer window. And so every time we lose, he comes back at us. Like, it just is what it is. Tony says, Righty is the only pundit who isn't shit. A fan, sure, but always tells it like it is and not afraid to call us out in a smart way. Exactly. And even I feel like even our legends feel almost pressured to be almost anti-Arsenal as well. A lot of our fans are like that as well, where they really cater to rivals so that they won't get bantered. And so it's a difficult place to stand up for Arsenal when we're not really playing that well. But I ultimately think a lot of this goes away if we're just better. I think we're a better team and we win more games. And in times where we do get bad calls, we still win the game. I think it goes away. I think we focus on it a lot because the margins are very fine, and the margins are fine because we're just not good enough. Let's see. Lynn says, I watched Mike Dean's interview last week and he was asked what team he disliked refereeing the worst. And his answer was Arsenal. And he was in VAR on Thursday. So why would he give us anything? Of course he hates Arsenal. We're a very easy to hate team. It's in our history. So I think we just have to leave it alone. But last but not least, before we get out of here, predictions. What's going to happen tomorrow? What is the scoreline going to be? How is the game going to go? Who's going to score the goals if we score any? Let's get some predictions out here before we end the game or end the game and the stream. Predictions. Ojam says Arsenal victim complex is almost as bad as Liverpool's. Yeah, maybe. Eddie says Stuart Robson is a hater, rarely says anything positive about us. I mean, we're just not. I just, if you know anything about Arsenal and where we've come from in our history, you can understand why people don't like us. A lot of people were getting slapped up by Arsenal teams all the way up until maybe like 2008. So you have to think about the age range of the people that are running the media and are the talking heads in the media. And you can just see that they're like, yes, they're shit. Now I can go in on them the way that I've always wanted to. And so as long as we're not good or we're not living up to our potential as a club, we make it really easy for them to do that. We really have to take some onus on this and not just be like, well, why isn't the media saying nice things about us? What there's not a lot of nice things to say. You know, we're not, we have to be honest about that. I don't even want to get into it, but like we haven't been good. So why do we want like praise when we haven't been good? And then we have a half of a good season this season, and we want people to talk about us like we're just as good as the other teams, and they're just never going to do that. We're going to have to be better than everybody in order for them to give us credit. You know, it almost has to be it has to be like undebatable that we're good in order for people to give us something. So we haven't earned that yet. It's a shame that we have to earn it like that, but we do. 3-1 to the Arsenal. I see a draw. Chris Leary says edgy 3-1 second half comeback. Like from going 1-0 down. That's a big one. Saida says, I hate to say this, but I can't see us winning. I mean, that's your truth, isn't it? King Sate says 2-1 to the Arsenal. ESR and Saka will score. Ali says Martinelli will score the first goal. Zich says 5-2 to who? Lynn says 2-1 to the Arsenal and Ketia and ESR. Drewski says 2-1, Saka, ESR, and Bruno Guimaraes inevitable goal. Yeah, Bruno will probably score against us. Ray says Guimaraes hat trick. Fair enough. Happily Egg says hoping you win, but I feel like with a late scrambled goal, we just don't score like late winners. That's just not us. We either have to score goals first and then hope to hold on to it, or go bounce back and forth. We're just not really we're not holding them 0-0 and all the way to the end and then winning it. Rancid says Heart 2-1, Brain 2-2. Amira says 1-0 to the Arsenal. Tomiyasu to rescue with the winning header from a corner. If Tomiyasu scores a winning goal tomorrow, I think I'll just cry. You know, like Tomiyasu's first goal for Arsenal Football Club is going to be something special. And hopefully it comes with a win. I love that guy so much. Signing of the season is not even close. Ultima Spell says Arsenal 1-0. ESR, come on, you Gunners. Zich says El Neni Masterclass 3-0. Tony says Nuno cut back to ESR, Saka to Eddie 2-1. Ali says 0-2 Martinelli and Saka, good vibes. Yo-Yo says 3-1 Ars as long as Nuno starts, and 1 of Gabriel and White. Len says, sorry, Jess, for starting another conversation. No, it's fine. King State says, you have a point on pundits like Kara, Neville, Redknapp. They have been embarrassed by Arsenal. Meanwhile, Micha joined City, and they had already started to take our place and win. That's why he has no hate for us. I mean, you just have to think, like, you know, who's calling this stuff, you know, and where were they when we were good, you know, all that kind of stuff. But we also, if we were good, they couldn't deny us. And the fact that right now we're on our way up, but we haven't really achieved much, gives that those margins to kind of be really negative and it still feel fair in their minds. Ojam says, Big S, though, one of the learners, I try to be a little bit level-headed. Sometimes probably erring on the side of pessimistic, but personality. Cece says, why would you want the media to be patronizing? People like Neville played against us great Arsenal teams. He's not going to congratulate a top 4 victory. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know if we need the media's disrespect or anything like that. I think it does get a little bit tiring for them to set the narrative in a way that's not really always, I think, a true representation of who we are. But you can always, there's always some sort of evidence that we leave behind that can substantiate their narrative around Arsenal. So, like an example would be, we can say, well, we won more games this season. We had a good 3 to 4 month period where we looked unbeatable. We played really well. We like the players. We're clearly moving in the right direction. They can just pluck out the amount of goals that we scored, the amount of goals that we've given up, and the amount of times we lost, and say, well, have they actually gotten better? You know what I mean? Like, we always leave something there for them to use to substantiate their arguments. So that's why, as annoying as it is, I feel like it's more up to us to make it so that they can't say those things, because Neville and them are really dying about Liverpool being as good as they are, but can they talk shit about them? No, because they're fucking killing it. So I think that's more what we need to focus on, is being so good that they can't talk shit, then, oh my gosh, they're talking shit about us, but like, we're not that good right now. Ify says nervy 2-1 win with Ramsdale making a late save. Paul says 0-1 to the Arsenal. Happily Egg says Newcastle aren't a marvelous back four. Their midfield work really hard to help the back four. That's why I think it will come late and will be a scramble. Fair enough. Let's see. Amira says, we're still due an El Neni screamer this season. Think his last one came against Newcastle last year, actually. Fair enough. Yo-Yo says 3-2 loss if two of Gab, White, and Nuno don't start. Yeah, we need some better players in it. Let's see. So yeah, I think that for me, it depends. If Ben White and Gabriel start and Tomiyasu plays on the right and Nuno plays on the left, and everything else is pretty much the same, I do think that we have a good chance of winning the game. But if we have Tomiyasu, if both Cedric and Tavares are playing, I think that kind of limits our chances a little bit more, because I think defensively we're going to be very susceptible. And when we played against Chelsea and Man United, we had both center backs. I love Tomiyasu, but I've never seen him play center back for Arsenal. And so we'll see how that kind of works out. The partnership between Ben White and Gabriel was pretty solid before Tavares came in. Once Tavares came in, and then it was Cedric and Tavares, it became very, very dodgy back there. So, I can see us being very nervy back there. So if I have to be honest, do you guys want me to be honest, or you want me to lie to you guys? I don't think we're going to win. I have to be honest. I just think the hangover is going to be too much. I think we'll try really hard and we'll just miss out. We'll either lose 1-0 or draw 1-1 or something like that. I would love for us to keep it alive until the last game. I want the last game to mean something, but it may not. But I'm going to say this now. I don't think it's a failure of a season. I know a lot of the narrative around Arsenal, if we don't make top four, will be that we failed and we bottled it. I think with the players that we have, we've done really well to get where we are. I think there'll be some questions around, the players that we got rid of in January, the recruitment of Tavares and Sambi Lokonga. Were they good enough to deputize for some of our better players? And that kind of stuff. But ultimately, if you would have told me that we would have made fifth at the beginning of the season, I would have bit your hand off for that, because I thought we'd finish 6th, 7th, So there you go. But I don't really feel like we're going to get it over the line. I just feel like I've seen enough of this team this season to know that we have a comeback in us, but it usually comes after a couple more losses. And when the pressure has lifted a little bit more, and there's just too much pressure, it's too quick of a turnaround, we have too many players out, and we'll be playing against a team that's not weak enough for us to, like, if it was Norwich that at home, that would be like a perfect rebound game. But I remember even like Brighton at home, we couldn't rebound after the Crystal Palace loss. So I'm really hoping Arteta doesn't do anything silly. like put Xhaka in the back line or, anything like that. We have to figure out a way to get one of our center backs in that team to give us some sort of chance. But I just want to see the boys really work for it. If we don't beat Newcastle, then we weren't good enough to get into the Champions League, and it just is what it is. And I think what's really frustrated me this season is that a lot of people have kind of preemptively acted as though we've already qualified or acted as though we deserve it. And that's just the end of it. We just deserve it because that's what it feels like. But we only deserve it if we get it. And we have to just take our noogies, like if we don't get it, because it's gonna hurt if we don't. That being said, there's still a chance of us to get it. If we play with confidence and we're clinical, we can beat them, but we just haven't been clinical, So I'm actually gonna go with like my mind says 1-1 or 1-0 to Newcastle, but my heart is like really hoping for like a 2-1 win for Arsenal. But I hope that's not too negative for you guys. I just want to be honest and not just like say I think we're gonna win just because. Um, and I think when people are like, "Oh, so you're just negative." No, I'm not. I'm giving you a realistic prediction from like when we play Man City, I always think we're gonna lose, but I always hope that we're gonna win. And I think you're only really a negative fan if you hope that we're losing for some narrative win or something like that. I just think the North London derby is gonna take a lot out of us. So that's just it. So sorry, but I wanna be wrong. I really do. I want to come on here after the game and say, you know what, like we're still in it. So well, we are still in it as of now. So we'll just see what happens. Amir says scenes when the lineup comes out and we see Xhaka left back, but Party back in the midfield. I hope not, because that guy does not come back well. Yo-Yo says let's not talk defeated until it's over. Damn, Newcastle don't want to play against a wounded Arsenal. Let's see. I'm sorry. Leanne says, me personally, I would love top four. However, I don't think we would drop down to the Europa League. I think we would drop down to Europa League. I also think Spurs will do the same. Let's see. I just wanted to make sure that we had European football next season. I think that's important for recruitment. I still think we'll have a decent window. I do think if we don't get Champions League, we won't get some of the players that we really want to see come in. But ultimately, I think we'll still have a good window. It would be heartbreaking, but at the same time, like there's always another season to start over and have hope again, Matt says Cedric, White, Tommy, and three-man midfield protecting Sambi, Elneny, and Xhaka. Fair enough. So what happens to Odegaard then? Paul says that's actually realistic. Good on you, Jess. As long as I don't want, I would never want us to lose. I always hope that we win. When we start the game, I'm always like, please, 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 please be wrong. But when I have these feelings of, oh, I don't think, and the basis of that is because usually when we win a game or we lose a game, we have a cluster of loss after that. And it's just a lot of pressure. So we'll see what happens. Eddie says the bad thing about missing in top four is that we won't be able to get rid of clowns like Kolasinac. Well, Kolasinac is already gone. So it's already a permanent transfer. He's gone. Like he's not coming back. Cedric. Okay, so I get you. Cedric, yeah, maybe not. The squad will be improved. Case in point, Elneny offered a new contract. Elneny is getting a new contract regardless to if we make Champions League or not. That's clear, and I think it's a mistake. I think we need to improve the squad, but culture guys are important. That's what I've been told. So, yeah. Yo-Yo says that's an oversimplification. Arsenal throughout the season have shifted between a single pivot and a double pivot. Nuno will be fine with Xhaka as a 6 and not an 8. Yeah. I hear that. I don't know what that's in regard in like response to, but yeah, we have pretty much done that. So let's see. Ray says, why does Xhaka always need protection? Why can't we get players that don't need other players to protect them? Well, I think most players that are not like the top players have flaws, and that's why they're not top players. And then so teams have to do things to keep them from being exposed. You know what I mean? So that's just the reality of where we are. Like if you buy somebody like Yuri Tielemans, he's a really, really good player that could potentially be better, but may always kind of need some sort of foundation in order to be successful. That's just kind of where we are at the moment. Um, so we'll see. So yeah, but I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. There's still about 160 of you guys watching. Like that video and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys, let a friend know and all that kind of stuff. Tomorrow after the game, I don't have like work or anything. So I will be doing player ratings after I go on the football terrace. Hopefully I'm not getting cooked because no matter what happens, I get cooked. So yeah, I'll be back for like player ratings. I hope we're talking about still being alive, but I mean, it could be a long, long night, you guys. So make sure you guys are subscribed so you guys don't miss another show. I will be here, rain or shine. I won't hide. And I really appreciate you guys coming to hang out and all that kind of stuff. And I want you guys to enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, Sunday afternoon, whatever. Spend some time with your family, drink some alcohol, and I'll see you guys in the next one.